Hey guys, Chicago injury lawyer Scott DeSalvo, and in today's video I want to talk to you about what is a deposition in my injury case. What is it? How does it work? What do I need to know? Okay, so the first thing you need to know about a deposition is it is basically a recorded statement. Okay, a recorded statement is basically the same as a deposition. The difference between a deposition and a recorded statement is the other attorney or insurance adjuster asks you questions under oath and you promise to tell the truth, and they're either recording it and then having it typed up, or they have a court reporter who records it, does shorthand on their little keyboard, and then they type it up later too. A recorded statement and a deposition are the same thing. They can ask you questions in this jurisdiction, in Illinois State Court. They can ask you questions for up to 3 hours. And they can ask you questions basically about your background. So we're talking about education, where you grew up, where you live, are you married or single, where you went to school, your job history, if you ever been convicted of a crime, of dishonesty or a felony within the last 10 years. So there's a bunch of background questions like that, but I always tell people, you get nervous. It's weird to have a stranger in a room with an aggressive attorney, or even over the phone or over Zoom, where they're asking you these personal questions. If you have a good lawyer on your side, your lawyer will tell you which questions to answer and which ones you don't have to answer. And the truth is, if you have an injury case, they get to ask you some background questions, but there are definitely background questions that you don't have to answer, and a good attorney will tell you what to do and protect you from that. The next category of questions they ask you about is how the incident happened. So if it's a car accident, they're going to ask you what road you were traveling on, what direction, what was the weather like, what time was it, were you alone or was with somebody with you, had you driven the car before, was it operating properly, and then the details. Usually attorneys slow down what happened and they say, okay, in the 5 seconds before the crash, what was your speed? In the 3 seconds before the crash, what was your speed? In the 1 second before the crash, what was your speed? These sorts of questions. And nobody thinks that way, and nobody talks to their family and friends in that way, and that's why lawyers ask questions in that way. And that goes back to the purpose of a deposition. They always tell you that the purpose of the deposition is to get a neutral statement of exactly what happened, your version, right? But as a practical matter, the way the attorneys ask the questions, that attorney is hired by the insurance company, and the insurance company's goal is to pay you no money, right? So because that's the case, they're going to ask you trick questions. They're going to ask you questions in weird ways. They're going to try and tie you down on time, speed, and distance, and other things like that to trip you up and make it appear that the accident was not their guy's fault, it was your fault, or that you were doing something wrong. Because as I explain in my other videos, if you are found to be partially at fault, it reduces what you get in your injury case. So they're going to ask you sort of trick questions. Again, a good lawyer will prep you beforehand. The best defense against those sorts of trick questions is meeting with your lawyer before the deposition. In my office, if it's a complicated case, we will meet a couple of times before the deposition. If it's a more straightforward case, we'll meet for at least a couple hours before the deposition, okay? The other thing that's important to do is review any answers to written discovery or any statements you've given before, and those should always be reviewed before the deposition starts, because you don't want to say anything in your deposition that contradicts what you said in the past, and if it does, you need to explain why it contradicts, right? You don't want to get caught in the deposition. A good lawyer will make sure that there are no statements or contrary statements by you that you could get caught up on. You can lose a case at trial because if you have contrary statements, like you said one thing one time and a different thing another time, they'll impeach you in front of the judge and jury, make you look like you're dishonest, right? Very uncomfortable. I don't let that happen to my clients. Preparation is key, okay? The third category of questions they ask at a personal injury deposition are about your injuries and how you were before, how you were during the period that you were treating, and how you're doing these days, right? And so they're going to ask you pain levels on a scale from 1 to 10. They're going to ask you activities of daily living that you can and can't do. They're going to do all kinds of stuff like that, right? So you should be aware of it, and you should protect yourself against it. And the way to do that is make sure that your attorney has prepared a summary of all your medical treatment and is aware of what the medical records say about pain levels and what parts of your body you complained of. So a big thing that the defense attorneys attack you on in a deposition are if you, let's say you hurt your neck, back, and shoulder in an accident, and the medical records don't document the shoulder until 3 months into the treatment, or for the first 2 months, everything's documented, neck, back, and shoulder. And then another 2-month period, they're just focusing on your neck and back. Then you start complaining of the shoulder again. They will tell the jury that and suggest to the jury that you must have had a new shoulder injury that you're not telling us about because your shoulder complaints completely went away, right? Now, if we know that that's a problem in the medical records, I can prepare you before the deposition so that you know how to answer the questions and you don't fall in a trap. And so that's really the big value that a lawyer can offer you if you're going into a deposition. But it's got to be a lawyer with experience, and it's got to be a lawyer who takes your case seriously and actually goes through and does the work and makes sure the file is prepared and all those little secrets are revealed, right? Because the lawyer's not just there to show up at the deposition, they're there to defend you. And the only way they can defend you is by objecting and instructing you whether to answer or not, or terminating the deposition if the other side is breaking the rules, right? But really, prepping you before the deposition is the most important thing a lawyer can do for you if you are facing a personal injury deposition. So I think that covers a lot of the important ground regarding depositions in personal injury cases. I hope this information helps you. I am, of course, a personal injury lawyer, and if you or anyone you know has been injured in an accident, I'd certainly love to hear from you. I'd love to represent you. You can reach me at 312-500-4500. That's 312-500-4500. You can call anytime, night or day. If you're not ready to talk to a lawyer, I've got a couple of cool tools on my website. The first is the Case Cash Calculator. It tells you what your case might be worth in settlement. Literally, it's 100% free, no obligation. It takes you 15 seconds and you get an idea of what your settlement value might be. Link in the description. I also have the Good Case Calculator. It tells you whether you might have a good case or not. Same thing, 10 or 15 seconds. Just multiple choice. Fill it in, hit the calculate button, and you get an answer about whether you might have a good case or whether you might have a case with some problems. Again, 100% free, no obligation. Links in the description. If you enjoyed the video and you want to subscribe, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified when new videos come out. And what else? Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and if you would not mind, please consider giving me a 5-star review on Google. I'll leave a link in the description. All you do is go to the URL in the link, cut and paste it into a browser, hit 5 stars, say a kind word, hit submit. Takes you 5 seconds, but it is of infinite value to me because I'm in a very competitive market with a bunch of multi-millionaires spending millions of dollars a year on TV ads, signing up everything that comes their way. So if you wouldn't mind helping me, I would appreciate it. I hope you and your family are well. If you are facing a bad situation or you have any questions about an injury situation you might be in, please give me a call at 312-500-4500. Other than that, thank you and take care.